Have you ever been through a period where you lost touch with your intuition?
No.
Oh, lucky old you.
Well, I don't think yours was terribly highly developed for quite a long time. I think that's the point.
It wasn't developed at all.
No, you were what I call an above-the-neck merchant, which is, if it doesn't happen in your head and from reading, it doesn't count. And I think actually that's what's got my clients into the trouble.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Kalimera.
You can hear me, can you?
I can, clear as anything, clear as day. I understand you've got a bit of a rant for us.
I have, but I'm not starting with it. You tell us about your week first.
Oh, okay, all right. It's been a nice week in Stupa. It's been cloudy, sun with broken cloud. We've had one party next door, Yvonne and Noreen's party, which was very pleasant indeed, Sunday. I've had some client successes, which is always a pleasure, isn't it? Kate, my 12-week challenge lady, has had one new paying client sign up again. And she's also had a request for a paid workshop at a university. So that's lovely. And I had a good chat with Neil. I interviewed Neil the other day. And he has been putting his Be Everywhere Online system into place since seeing me speak at Brisbane. It jolted him into action. And he's had 3 new Aussie online entrepreneurs clients this week. And one chap who's approached him, having watched a YouTube video, who wants him to take his £22 million retail business onto Amazon for him.
I saw that. Totally brilliant.
I know. I was so excited. He just dropped that casually in towards the end.
Yeah. But he credited you and Be Everywhere Online, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so nice. And it was interesting because he threw up a lot of benefits of the system that I hadn't actually thought about. So I've got some bullet points now. And one of those is, he said, people come to you pre-sold. You don't have to sell to them, which is great for people who don't like to sell. And that's what Kate's finding as well. So that's a really big bullet point bonus that I hadn't thought of before. So that was good.
Okay.
Birthday presents are starting to arrive. The first one is being brought up from Katarina's supermarket by the wonderful Stella, who acts as the local post lady. She's got a bike with a basket on the front. And and that's pretty much it for me this week. Yes.
Well, you'll have to tell the people sending you presents that they need to send them at least 10 days earlier.
I know, but I don't mind really. It's getting a present is lovely. I don't care what day it arrives.
Well, I sort of agree with you, and I sort of disagree with you. I think people who send presents should try a bit harder to get them there for the actual day. Although I realise that you are in a strange circumstance in terms of post.
Yes, very much so. But on the opposite end, it's Nelson's birthday tomorrow. He's 20 years old. And I've managed to get buy him something on Amazon and get it delivered the next day. So there you go. It works very efficiently the other way around. Well,
Amazon's a boon, isn't it? One of my clients is traveling all around the world incessantly, has been doing it for years, and she's currently in America, and she said it's just so wonderful to be able to get stuff delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so she's back in the land of the living, is she, in terms of shopping?
Well, she's only there, she's passing through, but she's making good use of it.
Right. Cool. And it's just been a solid content creation week. I felt like I've gone from making a video to editing a video to uploading a video to promoting a video and then back to making another video again. It's been a bit back to back like that. What about you then, my dear?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with my rant now.
Okay. All right. I'll take a lean back position.
Yes, I would, because you're one of the targets, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
But the good news is you're one of the targets in amongst quite a lot of them. So pin back your luggols.
All right.
And I'm going to take responsibility for all of it, and I'm going to share with you what I've learned about it. And the rant is on the topic. I mean, poor Kath, my client who listens to the podcast, I just shouted at her for most of our session on Monday about this because I so wasn't over it. And then I thought I was over it before today, which would have been a disappointment, really, because you want my high energy about this rant. The topic, as you won't be surprised to learn, is the great makeup brouhaha on Facebook that I created by mistake. Now, I noticed that on your personal profile, they'd moved the position of the picture from the left-hand side to in the middle, and it makes it look rather nice. So I thought, well, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning when I was going to do my accounts all day, I thought, well, I'll just upload one of those photographs that I had taken yesterday by Marzi, the beautician, when we were doing the makeup tests. And she took them on her iPhone, and she sent me, I don't know, a dozen of them later, and 2 of them I could bear to be seen in. I'm absolutely not photogenic, and I don't argue with me on this, please, because I will cover this later in the rant. I am not photogenic. That doesn't mean I am not photogenic, so it's hard to get a decent photograph of myself. But I put up one that I could bear to be seen in. But I didn't realise that when you change your photograph, it goes on your timeline as well. And although I tagged it with Margie, the human being, and Margie, the business Facebook page, because I knew she intended to share the photographs of her handiwork on her Facebook page, and I'd given her permission from that, all I did was tag it. I didn't ask for anybody's feedback or opinions or anything. And it was a while, several hours, before I worked out that I could simply go back to the original piece on my timeline and hide it from my timeline. And now that I know that I can do that, it's very useful. Now, when you post any content other than changing your profile photograph, it asks you what you want the settings to be. But when you change your profile photograph, it doesn't ask you about settings. So it took me a while to catch on, but I will never forget that. So, oh my God, I closed it off at about 100 engagements, the majority of which were only a quick icon, button, and move on. But I was subjected to comments, unsolicited, and opinions when none were sought, as follows. And this first one is my absolute favourite. I never thought of you as a pink person.
Well, she was so wrong, wasn't she?
Okay, so you've been to my house, you've sat on my 3-piece suite, which is pink. You've seen my website, you've met me more than once. You've seen my handbag, you've probably seen me wearing pink. You've been to my website, which is pink. You received my newsletter, which is pink. You see my Facebook banners are pink. And you hadn't noticed that pink was my thing. You found it easier to notice my lipstick than my 7-foot sofa. Where is your head? Up your own fundament. Honestly, that one nearly finished me off. And then I got advice about photo shoots. I got comments about how good I look on low carb. I got you asking to see the other makeup so you could help me decide. I got a comment from an old school friend saying she hadn't seen me wear makeup in 50 years, which is close, to be fair. It's more like 35, but who's counting? She was closer than everyone else, and she didn't offer an opinion. Somebody had a go at me about not being a people person. Somebody was just generally annoying as per, and they'll remain nameless. Then there was a discussion about whether or not I'm more honest with or without makeup. Again, an opinion not sought. I am honest, whatever. There were opinions about how to improve the makeup, not sought. There were erroneous assumptions that I was dissing myself. I wasn't. There was an erroneous assumption about my having visibility issues. I do not. There were opinions about the sort of makeup they wear. Who gives a tuppenny bit? I don't like makeup. I don't wear makeup. I have no plans to change that. And I won't be taking buying advice from a complete stranger. There were comments from grovelling, people trying to dig themselves out of holes they dug themselves into. There were, you're beautiful inside and out. Yes, I know I'm beautiful inside and out. What have I learned, Nicola? So, only me settings when putting up photographs of myself, 100%, unless there is a social media purpose, i.e. sharing the real photos of the real shoot this coming weekend for the purposes of book pre-publicity. I might not. Probably better in hindsight to have ignored all the unsolicited comments and turned them off much sooner. It ruined my Sunday morning when I was supposed to be doing my accounts. But here is the learning. Never, 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 and I am so guilty of this and I will never do it again, make unsolicited comments and offer irrelevant personal commentary on other people's posts in future. Rant ends.
Well, first of all, I apologise for any part I had in that. I think people think that and obviously this is totally not what happened in your case, so I totally exclude your sharing your photo accidentally from this. When I see someone putting up a post, it sort of goes without saying, I think most people feel, that they're looking for comments. And actually, when you put up a post on a business page, you are looking for engagement. So comments and likes are good things. But I think, on a personal profile, where obviously this was a complete accident. It shouldn't have happened. So
it was a complete accident. It shouldn't have happened, and that I didn't know, and I've learned from that. My engaging with it was an error, which I now will never do again. I've learned about settings and what you post that appear, but and nowhere did I put what do you think, and invite 100+ people to pile in with their unsolicited, irrelevant editorial comments. But I want to reiterate this point. I do that when people put stuff on there and a dialogue happens spontaneously or not. I've realized how often my engagement with them is my opinion. And of course we can only hold our own opinions, but actually I don't think that's necessarily what the person is looking for unless they ask for that. So if they ask, what do you think? We're being asked to share our opinion. If they're sharing something where they're just seeking, like on a Facebook page where they're just seeking engagement, then actually I don't think it matters what sort of engagement you get. And often on both my page and my profile, if it goes off in a mad direction I don't expect, I delete it. And I'd forgotten actually that I could just hide it. I don't need to delete it necessarily. But I'm still quite sort of shaky about this now, because I realise how often I've done this. So that's the lesson. I'm not blaming anybody else from this at all, but I will not be making unsolicited comments and offering irrelevant personal commentary on other people's posts in future. It's just, unless they ask me and they say, what do you think?
Well, Judith, why do people make posts if they're not seeking engagement and responses? Why?
Well, like on a page, I agree with you. On a post, it depends what it is. Try and give me an example on a personal profile of. I mean, I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because Phoebe's a beauty blogger, so if she's posting commentary on her personal page about beauty and makeup, then she is seeking engagement. I wasn't. It was an accident, as you rightly say. But I think what's really interesting, actually, the subtext of this on both sides is. And it's the main reason why I don't like makeup, is how strongly pro and con and how complex women's feelings are around the topic of makeup.
There's another element here, and I don't know whether to say it or not, but I'm going to, because I'm that kind of person. The thing that I think really got people as well was how different you look to the last time we saw a picture of you.
Yes, but you're so wrong about that as well, because you said that. You haven't seen me for 4 years. You don't know what I look like. And I don't know what you look. Well, I do know what you look like because you show it on video all the time. But we all change all of the time. Last time I saw you in the flesh was in my back garden 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't look any different. And in that picture, I didn't think I did look different. That's why I posted it. Because
very, very different.
No, I don't look very, very different.
Well, you've lost loads of weight. So
but you can't see that in the picture.
Yes, you very much can, Judith.
Only below the neck.
No, you looked like it. Honestly, I was
right. And I think we need to stop this conversation immediately, because I don't see that. Okay, this is why I'm so angry about the whole thing. Because it's about people making judgment on one's appearance, and they're subjective. Judgment on your appearance is subjective, and this is why I'm going to be very careful about what I share, and I have always been very circumspect about what I share visually, and why I'm averse to visuals, whether it's video and why most people's videos creep me out.
Okay. Well, let's move on then, because you don't. Yes. You've said you said what you want to say.
I have said my piece. Be careful, me and everybody else, about making unsolicited comments and judgments and offering irrelevant personal commentary on other people's posts. That's what the topic of the rant is about. Okay.
Okay. Anything else in your week at all?
No. My backache is 75 or 80% better, so I'm in considerably less pain and able to work almost normally, which is good.
Well, that's very good news. Okay, what's fueled your fire then, if anything?
Well, a close cousin, actually, which shows the other side of this and brings up a very interesting point and goes to balance. So a close cousin of the awful experience on Sunday was that on the previous Friday, I shared a very vulnerable newsletter about being in pain with my backache, and it drew more replies by email from my list than ever before, 26. And I wrote it on Wednesday after nearly 3 weeks in pain, and it seemed to result in a spontaneous healing on Thursday and Friday. So by the time they got my newsletter, I was a lot better, but they all wrote in with lovely, healing thoughts and vibes and recommendations for where I might go and get, treatment for that. But it also brought a quote from a man that said, "I'm not one of your clients or even on your mailing list directly. They actually come in from my wife. However, I felt your pain and I thought I might be able to help from afar." He's in Australia. And then he said, "Your newsletters are wonderful and I really enjoy reading them." And what it made me think was the rant and the newsletter are two sides of the same coin. And the involving people in your life on the front end in social media versus sharing in confidence with those on my newsletter list has given me food for thought. One brought an unwelcome response, and one brought a terribly considered and thoughtful and kind and loving response. And I think there's another lesson in there, which is this something you want to tell the whole bloody world about, or is it something you want to share in confidence with people who know you better in your newsletter list? And they brought two distinctly different sorts of responses, and the second one was the much preferred.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because in a way, the one can't happen without the other, because you only attract newsletter subscribers by being visible online. And the other thing is that,
Well, hang on a minute. Most of my newsletter subscribers came before social media even existed.
What, so you haven't added any new newsletter subscribers?
No, I have. But most of the loyal readers predate social media.
Do they? That's interesting.
Yeah.
You recognise the names and know where you know them from.
Oh, I know who everybody is, yes.
Ah, interesting. And the other thought is that, does this affect your, has this all affected your thinking about, moving everything onto Facebook and away from having a website?
No, it just means I've got to be more judicious about understanding Facebook settings and not offering unsolicited opinion to posts. Not talking about myself or sharing my opinions about me on other people's posts.
Okay. Right.
Tell me what has fueled your own fire.
It's been, I've just been through a call with Jared in Australia, who is my new app upgrade.
Oh, yes. I thought of a reason for an app, so I'm glad to hear you mention apps this morning. Is it? He's
really good. He talked me through all the new options and, got some decisions out of me. It's going to look absolutely sexy as anything. Apparently, Apple are making it much, much, much more difficult to get your app into the App Store. They're trying to squeeze out all the little app makers who are producing substandard, ugly little apps, and they're really trying to encourage only the really best looking apps. So app design is becoming more and more crucial. So mine's looking even better. But the other thing is, it's giving me is moved us onto an app software that he's got control of all the back end. So I can actually go in and change the way my app looks after it's approved in the App Store. I can change the way my app looks. I can change the way what shows on the app. I can change what it links to. So I've got complete control on the back end of my app. It's also got some amazing things that people can actually send me a text through the app. They can send me a picture through the app. They can send me a video of them talking to me through the app. I can identify people by areas and just send a push notification to people who are in like a 20-mile radius of London, for example, if I was in London that day and wanted to do a meetup. It's got so much functionality. It's absolutely astonishing. And in some ways, I keep querying the cost of keeping my app going because it's not cheap. But I think I've got to look for the future, and the future is that people will not be opening email so much, and an app will be absolutely essential. So I'm pushing on with it, and also, Sarah's just been telling me about something on Facebook that encourages people to sign up for your app. So I'm going to be looking into that soon. And it's just all really got me going. The other thing that's got me going this week is I've been re-recording my Fast Start Masterclass, and I thought it would just be a question of running through it and updating a few bits and bobs. But actually, I'm creating the content completely new from scratch, because everything, I would tell people to do everything differently now than when I
know.
And it's really quite exciting to be, it feels like I'm re-recording a whole new course, actually. And so I'm going to leave the old one up as a sort of a little upgrade, so people opt in for the book and then they get offered the old one, because the old one's still good, it still gives good concepts and outlines, but the really swanky new one is in the Clicks and Leads Academy and available to everyone. So it just made me realise how things have changed in really under a year.
And will always continue to, Nicola. So, in social media or onlineness, that all leaps ahead so fast, doesn't it?
I know it, and it's like we're going through a huge shift again. Like we went through when we went from static websites and email marketing to social. Remember we had our first WordPress blogs in 2006, and no, before that we went to Typepad, didn't we? That was a huge shift when Web 2.0 came in, or whatever it was they were calling it. It feels like a huge shift again, like that right now, and you really have to be a perpetual student and enjoy learning new things. Otherwise, you could just get completely overwhelmed by how you always have to learn something new.
Yeah. And well, two things about apps, if I may. One is, I think that I have a free Facebook group called Ask Judith, which is the companion group for my book, where I answer the 52 questions. And I think that would lend itself to a nice app that I could answer people's questions live every day. That could be actually where my business ends up.
Oh, nice.
But also yesterday I had an email from Paul McKenna, and you remember when we loved his Change Your Life in 7 Days, and we were quite studious doing that for a while. He's put everything he's ever created onto an app.
Really?
So, yeah. Now, I went in the App Store last night and I couldn't find it. The link was in the email, but I'd seen the email on my desktop laptop, and then I was sitting down later in the evening. I thought I'll go and see if I can find that app. I couldn't find it, but he did email. I don't know how he got my email address, because I'm not on his list or anything, but I got did I see it on Facebook? I might have seen it on Facebook. Anyway, whatever. He's put all the content he's ever created, all of those books, all of those recordings, on an app, and that's why I wanted to go and see how much he's charging for it, because if you think about his old content, which was a book, they were usually 120 pages, but they all came with a hypnotic CD. What could he charge? Let's say we paid probably quite a lot. I don't know, when we used to buy CD series from him, we used to pay a lot for that. So if you think of now, he's practically giving it away in an app. You get everything he's ever created in the Paul McKenna app. My estimate would be it would be anything from £5 a month to £47 a month. Oh, you think it'll be a monthly one?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, I thought I got the impression. I'll try and look.
It was a one-off payment.
Yeah, I got that impression.
But that would be even better value, wouldn't it?
Well, it would. Yes.
The other thing
I'll try and look it up and put it in the show notes anyway.
The other thing about my app is it's gated. So when you download it, you get to create an account that is confidential, but it means that I won't be able to hook it up with my CRM just yet, but I will be able to export and then import to my CRM as app users. So I will be able to contact people through email eventually. But in the meantime, they have to log in for the first time, and then thereafter they don't have to log in. So it will be creating another form of list or lead building. Well,
when I moved everything onto my Facebook page, as Sarah picked up yesterday, everything I do there is gated as well, but they opt in using their Facebook email address and end up on my MailChimp list. So, to that.
I've got to say, seriously impressed with that software you've been doing.
Oh, talk gates to me, Nicola. And I spent yesterday, I wasn't relishing it. I've got a woman that helps me with this, but I had to sit down after 6 weeks since I did the other thing and remember how to do it. And I didn't want to do it. I was feeling really grumpy about it. It was like, I don't know why I've paid you all this money and I'm having to do it, and I've got to make pictures and I'm no good at making pictures, and I've got to do the copy and I can't remember what I've learned. I was really grumpy about it, but by lunchtime, I bested it, and I've done a good job of it. I'm really pleased. I'm slightly annoyed that I haven't heard from her overnight, because she's 7 or 8 hours behind me to say, "Oh my God, haven't you done well?" But yeah, I'm terribly excited about the prospects of that, and this whole thing about gates.
Yeah.
Here at Own It, we personally believe that leaders are readers, but sometimes it's just not convenient to read and you'd rather listen instead. For listeners of Own It the podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. A couple of titles we've picked out for you particularly are Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg or Crush It, Why Now is the Time to Cash In on Your Passion by Gary Vaynerchuk. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ownit. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ownit for your free audiobook. You can pick one of the ones I've chosen for you, or you can choose something else. Enjoy your listen.
Okay, so our client challenge of the week sort of comes out of that, and it was suggested by Sarah, and I'm dovetailing it into what I want to talk about as well. Yeah. And it comes out of the fact that, you've just done a massive, almost about to do a massive pivot and embrace this whole social media, Facebook only thing.
Well, it's not social media, as you rightly point out, it is Facebook only.
Yeah. So I've had a week of newbies talking to me. I've got Intercom on my website, a bit like a chat software, like live chat. And it's part of a bigger suite of things, but one of the functions is, you put it on your app, you put it on your membership site, you put it on your website, and anyone can chat to you at any time. And because I have weeks where I get a lot of traffic to a blog post where I'm doing a review of the 6-Figure Mentors. And I made my review as unbiased as possible, and it is often number 2, or even number 1 sometimes when you put in the term 6-Figure Mentors in Google. And I get a lot of people contacting me from that page by, I've been sending them off to someone else actually, to be honest, but I've now put an opt-in in the way of in between that, and I'm building, I'm getting a lot of leads from it. But the other thing that they do is hit the intercom button, and they ask me questions, and I get it on my phone because I've got intercom on my phone as well. So I'm always quite happy to help people. I love helping people, especially if it means sending them in a better direction for them than they were heading on otherwise. So a lot of these people I've been talking to are very, very new, and they want to start a business, an online business. And I know you probably. I don't know how many newbies do you get inquiring of your services, or are people generally speaking in a business already?
Oh no, startups are one of my main. I would say 50% of my.
Right, yeah. Good. Okay, so bearing in mind what I've just been saying about everything's changed, and the fact that you get startups coming to you and I get startups coming to me who don't know anything about anything. And the thing that Sarah was saying was about pivotal decisions, and how, sometimes you make a decision based on what your heart says and what your head says, and how do you know they're right? And then we started to talk about decisions that make no sense on the face of it, but in your heart and your gut that they're right. Gut instincts versus intuition, and how these newbies don't have that. They haven't developed their gut instinct or their intuition for making good decisions. So how would you advise someone who is brand new, starting out in business, and do you cover this topic of making good decisions? And if so, what do you say?
It's the entire content, the entire 65,000 word content of my book, where you'll remember the strapline is learning to trust yourself. Relax, you've got this. It's all I do with clients all day long, because they've had their heads, they've been hypnotized badly by such people as 6-Figure Mentors. Yeah. And they've lost all of that studying of the received wisdom, which I loathe, has made them more confused than ever. And what they tell me is, they tell me such things as, I don't like long form sales letters. I don't like selling. That doesn't feel right to me. The thing we discussed last week, I couldn't possibly charge that much. And some of them some of those things, I have to say, for instance, well, I'm sorry about the long form sales letter because they've been proven to work, but that doesn't mean you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But do you buy from them? Yes, I've been hypnotized into buying from them. Do you want to sell like that? Not sure. So do you want to do a shorter one? Yes. Well, even if it doesn't work as well. No. So I'm somebody said yesterday, what do you mean when you're teaching people to trust themselves? What's the difference between trust and faith? Well, they're so different. I can't tell you. I mean, I totally 100% trust myself to make decisions about my business and my life. And I think I always did. But the people that I work with all of the time, and they're not just startups and newbies, they're all of my clients. What I'm trying to get them to do is tune in to their own intuition, their own wisdom, and sell as they buy. And we've discussed before what I say to them on Cashflow 101 days, which is, what do you think and what do you feel? And often they think one thing and feel another, and that you've got to then find a way of marrying those two up. So what do you think? What do you feel? What would you do? And I think the answer is, you go off, you have a discussion with somebody like me, or you make up your mind from have you read something, you go off, you put it into practice, you see how it works, and you tweak it until you get the result you want.
Yeah, totally. Coming further back than that, I get people who've been hypnotized into believing, and I totally understand, and I'm not judging them for it at all, because, so easily done. There's a way of making money online that doesn't involve building a business. It doesn't involve creating a product and selling a product. And I think it's the whole affiliate marketing thing. There's a way, a secret system or a push button thing where you can not have to do anything and an income will arise. And so I have a process of de-education to go through before I then can start from zero, if you like, ground zero, to build people back up again. Because they come with all these ridiculous nonsense of assumptions that there's, if they just pay the right person or find the right person and pay them something, they'll really reveal this secret process that means they don't have to actually build a business. And in some ways, it's like, so talking to these people is so interesting, because it's like, it's almost like if you really told them what it was going to take. And I think this is probably what very experienced business mentors feel when they come across bright-eyed, bushy-tailed newbies, who are looking for a mentor, and they think, God, you've got so much to learn, But you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to start at the beginning, and you've got to take it one step at a time, sweet Jesus, don't you?
Well, I've been self-employed for 40 years, and I'm still working at it.
Totally, and so am I, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think the get rich quick idea was something that was always around. And I don't think it was around millennia before the internet came along.
That's true. They used to write ads in magazines, didn't they?
Yeah. My clients are not trying to build a business online. They're trying to harness the power of the internet to market their business. So they mostly got real world businesses. They also say to me, the majority of mine these days, and I totally get this, and I think it's a place where I am now. They say, I don't want a business. I just want to make some money doing something that I love. And that's my ideal client. So they're not trying to build a business necessarily. They're trying to feed themselves and their family easily by doing something lovely.
So solopreneurs, basically, rather than business builders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm a solopreneur, and I've been a business builder, and I'm content with working at home by myself, and that's a lovely, dignified way. The exchange of labour for money was always a lovely, dignified thing, and most of us at one time or another have done it in a job. And the preferred way for me now is to exchange my labour for money as a solopreneur, and most of my clients want to do that, and typically they want to do it with very interesting things like artiness and creativity, which is music to my ears, because I strangely have discovered myself to be both arty and creative. So you're speaking to a woman who made a necklace this week, Nicola.
No, can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So what is this challenge all about, really?
Well, it's a combination of things. I think it's mainly about trusting it. Well, I think we've had a podcast episode that was about trusting your gut. So, okay, so let's bring in the head versus heart decisions. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone through a period? I know the answer to this already. Have you ever been through a period where you stopped trusting your intuition and then you got it back again? Or do you remember a time before you started trusting your intuition, or have you always been someone who did trust their intuition?
Oh, I've been woo-woo since I was a teenager.
Is it woo-woo though? Because men call it gut instinct, don't they? And
Yes.
women tend to call it intuition.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is woo-woo. You can call it what you like. I'm happy for people to call it gut instinct. But there's a classic example, isn't there? We can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't define it, but we know it.
Yeah, and it took me until I started personal development work to actually feel it, because I didn't have any. I used to buy books called How to Make Difficult Decisions, for heaven's sake.
Yes, I remember. I know. I was talking to my friend who is called in my online writings and blogs and in the book Susie from Manchester, with 2 hyphens, Susie from Manchester, because she used to teach at a very high level. She used to teach teachers to teach maths. And she came to London once and she showed us how she did this. And we all had to answer a sum, and then we had to say out loud how we'd done it. And when I said out loud how I'd done it in mental arithmetic, my brother went, "Oh, Jude," as if to say, what a terrible way of working it out. And Susie said, "It doesn't matter how you work it out, as long as you have a way of working it out." And one of the ways that her students work it out is they say to her, "I just knowed it, miss." So I just knowed it, miss. So, in a class full of children, you say, "How did you know that?" "I don't know, I just knowed it, miss." And I think most of my clients, if they get quiet enough and I give them enough power to trust themselves enough, I think they just knowed it, miss.
And do you remember any, so you've always just knowed it. Have you ever been through a period where you lost touch with your intuition?
No.
Oh, lucky old you.
Well, I don't think yours was terribly highly developed for quite a long time. I think that's the point.
It wasn't developed at all.
No, you were what I call an above-the-neck merchant, which is, if it doesn't happen in your head and from reading, it doesn't count. And I think actually that's what's got my clients into the trouble.
Yeah, totally.
You need to be able to balance, as you say, head and heart. And you need to be able to do small scientific experiments, which goes, right, I'll do what my head's doing and see how it goes. I'll do what my heart's doing and say how it goes. I'll see how it works with both of those. And then I'll be able to decide sometimes, depending on what I'm trying to do, will I go with my head on this one because it looks like a heady kind of a thing? Or will I go with my heart on this one because it looks like a hearty kind of a thing?
I'm thinking of a few occasions in my life where I've gone with my gut and I have felt fear but gone ahead and done it anyway. So you've got the fear element coming in as well. So this feels like the right, and specifically what Sarah was saying is, have you ever made decisions based on what everyone else would call wrong? They look so wrong but they've turned out to be so right. And I was thinking about buying the hotel, right? On paper that looked like a good idea. In my heart, it felt like the right thing to do. And it turned out to be a really good thing for lots of different ways, but it also turned out to be a complete and utter disaster in some other ways. So I remember sitting in the garden with Kim. I remember this really vividly, talking about it. And she said, aren't you scared? And I said, a little bit, but it feels like I would be mad not to do it. So I was going with my gut, but looking back, I don't know if I shouldn't have been a bit more afraid.
Well, I've got a fantastic example of this. If you're ready to hear it, are you?
Yeah, of course.
I once fell in love with a very attractive man, and on our second date, we were at a Turkish restaurant in Portland, near the BBC. Portland, Great Portland Street. Yeah, we were at a Turkish restaurant, and it was like Boxing Day or it was Christmas time. And he started to tell me a story about the outcome of his previous relationship, and that he was taking his previous girlfriend to court, and why. And every fibre of my being wanted to stand up and say, it's been marvellous, but I can't get involved with a man. I can't get involved with a man like you. I'm leaving. Instead of which, I dated him for a decade, and it still came to that place.
Oh.
And I knew, and women always say this, I knew. And you think, well, if you knew, why did you do anything about it? Well, the answer is I was already in love with him. But, the thing is, I knew, we know, we always say, and people say it all the time, I just knew. But we didn't follow that because we've been so educated above the neck that we logicize, I don't know what the word is, logicalize, there isn't a word, we talk ourselves out of it using logic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Logicize. I like it a lot.
Well, it's not a word, Nicola, but you know what I mean. We override our instinct and our intuition and our feeling and our I just knowed it miss with head stuff, because that's how we've been educated. And in the society in which we still live, although not my reality, it's highly, well, part of my reality, it's highly revered. So bright, brainy, clever people. Do you see what I'm saying? So, what use is one of the finest educations in the land if you've got no emotional intelligence or no awareness or no observation skills or no emotional intelligence?
Yeah. So bringing all this back to business then, when you're starting out, you don't know anything. And it's a really good idea to get a mentor, because a mentor can help you through those early days, not make mistakes and make good decisions when your intuition isn't highly developed. But the only way to develop that intuition, business intuition, is to carry out a series of small controlled experiments. You said, I like that a lot, and get more confident as you make decisions that turn out okay.
Yes. And that's how you learn to trust yourself, isn't it? As you make more decisions that turn out okay, you think, oh, I'm rather good at this.
Yes. And then hopefully you don't ever come to a situation where something so cataclysmic happens that it knocks your intuition. Your intuition.
Cataclysmic things have happened to me, and cataclysmic things will always happen to all of us. But it didn't rob me of my intuition.
It didn't rob you of your trust in your intuition.
Oh, it robbed me of my trust in good things. Well, actually, this week has robbed me of my trust in good things as well. The 52 people being annihilated in Las Vegas. I had a sleepless night where I couldn't trust in the goodness of life anymore. Horrid things happen to good people. Bad things happen to good people. That's the expression, isn't it? But not my intuition. No. So my intuition is already telling me that a slightly dicky old age pensioner couldn't hold up an automatic weapon and annihilate 50 people from a hotel room over a protracted period of time. Not trust in yourself. Well, funnily enough, you said something, and I've written it in the book because I don't agree with you. You said I can only trust my family. I trust myself, whatever's going on in the world, and I trust. I trust all of my clients to be able to employ themselves for money.
Okay. And you think that if they stay still long enough and listen and feel, they will make good decisions based on their own intuition?
I think if they stop blindly following other people and the received wisdom and looking for magical solutions and taking the magical, or just stop reading the other stuff and paying money to turn over another magical bullet.
Yeah.
In your heart what feels right. They often, what do you think? So quite often I say, what do you think? And they always know what they want to do, but they talk themselves out of it because that's not what somebody said in Business Wisdom 101.
Yeah. I liked what you said earlier. What do you think? What do you feel? And what are you going to do?
What one will you go with? Yeah. And they're both organs of decision making, aren't they? Interestingly, on the day I wanted to leave the restaurant, my instinct, my heart, that knowing was vibrating through every fibre of my being. But I was torn. And my head wasn't involved in that at all.
So... But we have that. Women unfortunately have that thing where we fall in love and get attached, and to the sometimes they completely.
Well, I mean, and men too. I think actually it works both ways, doesn't it? But I think these days, I love my head, and I love being brainy, and I love logic, and I love being able to think things through. but I probably lead with my heart, I think.
Yeah. Brain, heart and gut. 3 different things for me.
Yeah, and for me, they're all interconnected as well.
Yeah.
They're not separate things for me. They're seats of knowing.
Yes, and I hope no more biology comes along to upset mine. You don't really live without any more biology.
I wouldn't rule it out. Today's Thursday, and according to my horoscope, I am going to fall in love today. So yeah, I should probably hide under the desk until it's all over.
Yeah, I would if I were you. Lock yourself in your bedroom quick.
Do you think we've answered Sarah's thing?
I don't know. Have we, Sarah? She's not listening.
Okay.
She's not listening. I think we've covered it pretty well, actually. I think the whole point of it was to encourage people who are just starting out that they've got a very formidable weapon at their disposal. Not a weapon, a formidable tool at their disposal.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is that they could think what they think. And I think you've come up with a brilliant tool as well there, which is, what do you think, what do you feel, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's perfect. I love that.
And actually, don't forget, if you do something led by your head and it suddenly turns out not so well, you can switch.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think that's the other thing is people always think that decisions are forever. And hopefully they're just one more fork on a path that generally hopefully gambling in the right direction.
I've lost count of clients turning up and said, I've started, it's not going terribly well and I don't think I'm doing it right. And we have another debate and we go in another direction.
Yeah. Iterations, lots of small iterations. Forks in a path that generally head in the right direction.
I ever so slightly overused the word iteration in last week's episode. When I was listening to it back, I said, stop using that word, Judith. And you've only used it once today, but I used it about 79 times last week, so that's good.
The editing's already been done by then, so
yeah.
I didn't even notice you saying it once, so there you go.
Oh, good.
Moving on then, word of the week.
Yeah, you go first.
You're going to like this one. It's a number, 30,000.
Okay.
Apparently.
No. Why am I going to like that one? A number is not a word.
Well, it might be. It is if you write it as a word. 30.
No, 30,000 is 2 words. I can't allow it on either count, Nicola, but you may go on and explain.
I read something. I love it. I love it when I sneak something past you.
No, you haven't snuck it past me. Has she, gentle listener? She hasn't snuck it past any of us, but we will listen to you, Nicola.
Yeah. It's apparently, on average, the number of days on Earth you are going to enjoy. So my question is, are you making the most of each one or are you enjoying each one? Because 30,000 doesn't sound like an awful lot of days to me, does it you?
How many years is it?
I can't remember. I don't remember the maths behind it particularly. I'm sure you... Come on, get your pink calculator out.
No, I haven't got my calculator out. It's in the cupboard. And the bad back means I can't leap up quite as efficiently as normally. But I will work it out, obviously. Enjoy each one. Okay.
Yeah. Enjoy it or make the most of each one in some way. What's your word then?
Mine is opinion. Keep yours where the sun don't shine unless it's asked for. I don't mean you, I mean any of us.
No, because it would be an awfully quiet podcast otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Project updates.
Very, very short this week. On Monday, I finished proofreading my book and I got the first copy off to the first lady in my 3-woman proofreading team. And overnight, I've had a message from her saying it kept her up until 2 a.m. So that sounds both good and bad.
Well, it sounds
bad for her sleep patterns, good that she was enjoying it enough to stay up until 2 a.m.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm dying to read it. Anything else at all?
No.
Okay. I've got some fairly interesting things and one big bit of news for you.
Okay.
Own It. We had a big spike of downloads last week, 326 in one day. That was nice.
Yeah.
And we've had 58,641 downloads at all time.
Ooh.
That's quite a lot, isn't it? 58,000. Yeah. Even assuming that, perhaps 80% of those people listen to some of the podcast, it's still a lot of people. Yes. Our YouTube uploads have had 43 views, over 150 podcasts already without anyone doing anything to promote them, just attracting views just because of the keywords. Yeah. I know that you're going to get it onto your channel as well, so that'll double the coverage, which will be great.
Yep. Yeah.
Player FM. I got a Google notification today about my name, and when I clicked through, it was the podcast, my podcast. So just generally, this is about podcasts in general. And I thought, what is Player FM then? They had all of my V-zine on it, and it's going to be available in cars. So, I keep telling you about the car, iTunes going into cars.
Yeah.
In their cars who don't have iTunes or don't use iTunes will be able to use Player FM to listen to podcasts in their cars.
I think we should issue a challenge and a prize. I'm not sure what the prize would be. But the first person who buys a car and drives a car and can listen to our podcast in the car without actually plugging in their iPhone or something.
Yeah.
I want. Wouldn't that be a wonderful moment when the thing you've been promising for me forever, that cars will come off the production line and people will be able to listen to podcasts? I want to hear who's the first person that's going to buy a car that has that facility. Or
ride in a car. They don't have to buy it. They can ride in it.
No, that's right. Yes, or ride in it. Yes. Oh, people are going to be rushing to take test drives now, aren't they?
But we'll have to come up with the prize first, because we have to.
So Nicola, Player FM, is it like PLAYER, or is it some silly internet spelling?
PlayerFM.com, I think.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Oh no, it isn't. It's Player.fm.
Player.fm, nice.
Yeah. One account, many interfaces. Manage and play your podcasts on both web and phone. This is the bit I liked. Fling to your TV with Chromecast, so you can actually listen to podcasts on your smart TV. Launch shows from your wrist with Android Wear, and soon you can enjoy your car ride with Android Auto under review.
Yes, soon being the operative word there. Android what?
Android Auto.
So actually, it's only Android listeners who can listen in the car on that.
Yes, but that's good, because it means that, people who don't have an iTunes account, and if they see the podcast thing in their entertainment centre.
Yes, indeed, it is a good thing. Yes, it is, because actually the iPhone, people could just stick their iPhone in and listen on that, whereas here, okay, Android Auto. So there's the challenge. First person to hear our podcast on Android Auto, write in.
Yes, it said, yeah. So anyway, the website's pretty cool, so go and check it out.
And actually what we'll do is we'll record them. We'll record a little tiny interview with them and put them in the show. That's what we'll do.
Okay. And finally, the big news on Project Updates is we've made our first $15 commission.
Oh, heaven's sake. Somebody signed up for one of those audio things. Yeah. Yes, could we have a new advert, please? I'm so bored with you recommending Lean In and Crush It. Could we have another advert?
What, you want me to recommend other books?
Yeah, well, it's a bit dull now. Can we swap it up? It's a bit change it up every now and again. Yeah.
Well, why don't you record one?
Oh no, you're the expert at tech.
Oh, come on.
Don't forget, I'm a woman. I can't even get my microphone to work with my computer this morning.
Yeah, good point. Right, who or what's impressed then?
Yes, well, the beautician, Margie, who did the makeup, wasn't fazed by the storm in the teacup. She wasn't fazed by me saying I don't like makeup on Facebook, despite this being very much her thing. But what my favourite thing was, what she said to me on Saturday when I visited her house, and I asked her if she had decided in advance of my visit what colour she was going to use. And she said, yes. And I said, is that because of my colouring? And she said, and your character. This girl is Polish, 34 years old. She's only met me 3 times, but she totally gets my character. Better than that, she baked a cake for my visit, which of course I can't eat because I'm on a low carb thing, but she gave me a solid great brick of it, which I brought home and managed to consume some of over the weekend, mainly in the middle of the brouhaha on Sunday morning. But I won a competition on her Facebook page for a free makeover again.
You got
just what we don't want, more free makeup. What a laugh. But Margie, brilliant bird, top bird again. That's the second week running that I've bigged her up because she is just a little star.
Oh, well, that's sweet. I'm glad she wasn't upset by all the comments.
Oh, completely unfazed. No, because she loves makeup. It's a bit like what you're saying about intuition. Completely unfazed because makeup is her thing. It's something that she loves. So why would anybody else's opinion knock her off hers? It doesn't.
Exactly.
What about you?
Okay. Two things for me. One is both very quick. One is that I was drawn to. I was reminded of pay with a tweet.
Lovely.
I'd totally forgotten about it, and someone I respect a lot was talking about it, and they were saying that if you could just get, a significant number of people to, what you do is you think about, instead of when they opt in, the first on the thank you page where after they've opted in, you offer them some upgraded content which they can pay for with a tweet, and it also works with Facebook, so it can be paid with a tweet or a Facebook mention. And
can they pay with a tweet to support the podcast?
We'd have to think of what we could give them, but yes, I don't see why not.
Well, we've given them the show and they've loved it. Couldn't they send us a £5 every now and again with a tweet?
No, that's not. It's not pay with the tweet. It's not receiving money via Twitter. It's that someone shares your content on Twitter or Facebook.
Oh, I see. Well, then let them let's get them to share our content with a tweet.
Yes, but you have to give them something if they do it. So they're paying.
We've already given it to them.
No, you're missing the whole point. The whole point is...
what you're saying is they earn it with a tweet, effectively.
They earn something else with a tweet. So they opt in, or they click the button and they share your content, whether it's a blog post or a podcast episode or whatever, in order to unlock further content. So
yes, and I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm totally getting it. But gentle listeners, if you've enjoyed our free content, could you please just tweet about it? That's what I'm saying. It works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think we should have a little discussion about what we could give away, perhaps from the summit.
Yes, some of the summit recordings. Yeah,
summit recordings in return for paying sharing our content on. Anyway, there was some very good maths around it in this email.
Yeah. I like the concept a lot, Nicola, because it's easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And apparently it works like gangbusters. If you can just get one person who, I don't know, it was like a thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked, which I just saw literally before I came on, is tagrmovie.com, which is thinkandgrowrichmovie.com. It's coming soon. It looks absolutely gorgeous and lush and rather fun and inspirational, and it's the Think and Grow Rich movie, and it's looking good.
Okay, good.
tagrmovie.com. That's it. That's us done. We've made it.
All right, then. Yeah, see you next week. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya. Yeah, bye.
Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com. And you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.